Well, hi YouTubers, hi, I'm back with the Physics 5100 books, and it is Isaac Asimov's Foundation. Okay, this is a literary classic. This is like a genre forming. This book has inspired so much. I never read it until now. More of a novella, really. I mean, it's only like 230 pages. It's, so 31 pages. So anyway, moving below. The Galactic Empire has prospered for 12,000 years. Nobody suspects that the heart of the thriving empire is rotten until psychohistorian Harry Seldon uses his new science to foresee its terrible fate. Exiled to the desert planet Terminus, Sheldon establishes a colony of the greatest minds in the empire, a foundation which holds the key to changing the fate of the galaxy. However, the death throes of the empire breeds hostile new enemies, and the young Foundation's fate will be threatened first. So essentially, this galactic empire has been going on for like 12 millennia. It's fallen apart, it's decaying, it's rotten. So Harry, who is a psychohistorian, he's known as Raven Seldon because he can foresee into the future, okay? But all he sees is death and destruction. He sees the empire crumbling, and you can kind of see from the moment the book starts how the empire is. There's too much resources on artificial technology. Humanity is kind of... Actually, this kind of says everything. This is humanity. This is Gal, who is an associate of Harry's. Actually met him up to this point. Here you go. And he's at the planet of Trantor, with a planet of 40 billion, okay? And this is where he's at the highest point, looking over the city. And such a matter of opinion, Gal. If you're born in a cubicle and grow up in a corridor and work in a cell and vacation in a crowded sunroom, then coming up into the open with nothing but sky over your head might just give you a nervous breakdown. You make the children come up here at least once a year after they're 5. I don't know if it does any good. They don't get enough of it, really. And first few times they scream themselves into hysteria. Till to start as soon as they're weaned and have a trip once a week. He went on, of course it doesn't really matter. What if they never come out at all? They're happy down there, and they run the empire. How high up do you think we are? Now, this is page 12. He's not just establishing Trantor. He could easily be Coruscant. It's Coruscant from Star Wars. I tricked up on that. I knew this book influenced Star Wars, but I didn't realise that Coruscant and Trantor that inspired it. Yeah, a whole planet, a whole city, which is a planet which is a city. Okay? So, and no one goes out. And that's actually true, if you think about it. That's true with Star Wars. So Harry Seldon realises that the Empire's crumbling, it hasn't got much life left to it. So he's exiled to this planet where he establishes his greatest scientific minds, when they can kind of monitor and see what's going on. However, this is a bit of a question though, this is where we talk about the psychohistorians, okay? Psychohistory, implicit in those definitions is the assumption that the human conglomerate being dealt with is sufficiently large enough for valid statistical treatment. Necessary size of such a conglomerate may be determined by Seldon's first theorem, which a further necessary assumption is that human conglomerate be itself unaware of psychohistoric analysis in order that its reactions be truly random. Okay, so even though by various points in the book Henry is dead, okay, so Harry is dead, however his Foundation is still manipulating people behind the scenes. However, how far does this go? I mean, you can't manipulate human emotions on the base level. Bit of a contradiction there. And it's interesting to see, because this is definitely inspired by the form of the Roman Empire, is how you kind of see it crumbling. However, you can still see the beginning of the feudal system, because this empire will crumble, but basically essentially shutting down several millennia into basically one. Okay, so little bits here, because this book was written as it's essentially short stories put together at certain times. Okay, and this is part 3, the mares. There you go. This is this bit here. How the mighty had fallen kingdoms, they were preface in the old days, or part of the same providence, which in turn had been part of a sector, which in turn had been part of a quadrant, which in turn had been part of the all-embracing galactic empire. Now the Empire had lost control of the further reaches of the galaxy. These little splinters of groups of planets became kingdoms, with comic opera kings and nobles and petty meaningless wars, and laughed at one another pathetically amongst the ruins. Civilization fallen, atomic power forgotten, science faded into mythology, till the Foundation stepped in. The Foundation that Harry Seldon had established just for that purpose here on Terminus. So, obviously Terminus is surviving, but it's falling apart. And Harry Seldon has become the prophet. He's become a god, if you will, in the millennia. So, in this bit here, okay, is where science became mythology. That's a very, very intriguing line. Because obviously as the Empire falls, things are forgotten. Now this is really more established further along in this bit here. This is when Mallow, a associate of the Foundation, goes to a tech man's home. Okay, this bit here. The tech man's home was a small two-story affair on the outskirts of a huge cubiform windowless affair that dominated the centre of the city. Mallow passed from one to the other through an underground passage and found himself in the silent, ozone-tinged atmosphere of the powerhouse. For 15 minutes he followed his guide and said nothing. His eyes missed nothing. His fingers touched nothing. And then he said in strangled tones, "Have you had enough? I couldn't trust my underlings in this case." "Could you ever?" asked Mallow ironically. "I've had enough." "Could you ever?" So they're back in the office, and Mallow said thoughtfully, "And all these generators are in your hands. Every once to take command with more than a touch of complacency. And you keep them running and in order." "Right. And if they break down?" The tech man shook his head indignantly. "They don't break down, they never break down. They're built for eternity." "Eternity is a long time, do you suppose?" "It is unscientific to support meaningless cases." Mallow bowed with satiric respect and left. 2 days later he was back at the base where the Far Star waited to return with him to the planet Terminus. And 2 days later the tech man's shield went dead, and for his puzzling and cursing never glowed again. Civilization is in ruins. It depicts those riots, it depicts pain, it depicts suffering, it depicts indifference, okay, of these empires or kings, if you will. So I cannot believe it was written at this time. It is very, very ahead of its time, but at the same time it's also kind of limited as well. Science obviously is marched on, but the idea of this grand space opera, this big galactic empire that's fallen and crumbling, is absolute genius. So I enjoyed it. I didn't enjoy it as much as I thought, but I really, really enjoyed it. And yes, I do recommend it. So, there you go. For some reason I've actually read Isaac Asimov before, though I'm a fan of fantasy. This is actually worth reading. You get to see the origins of what came after. It's a bit like, hey, watching Metropolis and then watching anything involving robots. So, yes, I've seen Metropolis too. So, sign off here, YouTubers, and bye now.